I want to make sure, who has another ruler that I can borrow?
Here, right here.
I'm looking for something specific.
What?
Okay, this will do. Alright, another thing that you have to make sure that you're paying attention to when you're measuring with your ruler, and I'm going to get this as close to these as I can just to show you a slight difference that you're going to see. Okay, some rulers start at the very tip. Okay, you can't really see that, but there really is a dark line right there at the very edge of my ruler. Okay, then you have other rulers where it doesn't start over here on the edge. It doesn't start until I get to that black line. That's where I'm going to put the end of my line, okay, or the segment that I'm measuring. So you have to pay attention to your ruler because yes, when we're measuring down to the nearest eighth of an inch, that's going to throw off your measurements, okay? So you don't always start at the end of the ruler. You have to pay attention and you have to look to see where that line is starting, okay? And I just stole Jeffrey's ruler here just to show you that. But now you can see just a little bit more clear. But see, that doesn't start until we're almost a quarter of an inch onto his ruler already before those measurements ever start to take place, okay? Then sometimes you'll have rulers that break things down a little bit differently, and if you notice the front of his, or the first inch of his ruler breaks things smaller than just into 16ths, okay? So if you have a ruler like this and you want to know how to read that part of it and find your eighth of an inch on that part, let me know and I will help you with that. Other than that, you'll notice that then after we get to 1 inch and we move on, then now it's broken into 16ths between each inch, okay? So don't let that throw you off either. If you want a ruler that is strictly, the entire thing is broken into 16ths, you can borrow one of mine if you don't like how yours lays out, okay? So make sure you understand that part as well. Now we're going to get into measuring to the nearest centimeter and measuring to the nearest millimeter, okay? So now we're using the flip side of that ruler today. Let me change over to my whiteboard.
Use it on your desk.
No, I'm going to have a couple of you guys come up and measure up here. Here's something else you guys have to understand. Yesterday's measurements that we were using when we were measuring in inches, whether we were estimating to the nearest half inch, quarter inch, eighth of an inch, to the nearest inch or whatever, that's the customary unit of measurement. Here in the United States, that's typically what we refer to. That's what we're used to. Other countries use what we call the metric system, okay? And we use metric units. You do 100% have to know how to convert in the metric system, okay? Today we're going to focus primarily on being able to measure how long something is, but I do want to draw your attention very quickly to the vocabulary at the top of your page. If you're going to cause a distraction, I'm going to put you at the back page. Okay? It's not fair to everybody else in this classroom. The first one is millimeters, and when we look at our rulers, and we're looking at the centimeter side, I don't have my document camera on. Let me pull down this ruler. Hold on here, let me see why I can't blow this up. Yes, I was having a brain malfunction. Okay, yesterday we were looking at the bottom side of the ruler that I have up here on the board. Today we're going to be looking at the top side, and I'm blowing this up so that it's a little bit easier for you to see. The inch side is our customary unit of measurement. The top side is our metric unit of measurement. Okay, we're going to have millimeters and we're going to have centimeters on this ruler. Okay, obviously my numbers are showing me centimeters. Okay, the numbers on your ruler are showing you whole centimeters. The numbers in between are showing you millimeters. Okay, very quickly, let's look at that chart. It tells me 1 centimeter equals how many millimeters? 10. So knowing that, how many millimeters are from 0 to 1? 10. Woo, good job. Okay, so how many millimeters would be from 1 to 2? How many millimeters would be from 0 to 2?
20.
Okay, so 1
10.
centimeter equals
10.
how many millimeters?
10.
10. Okay, then it tells us 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. Okay, 1 meter. I think my yardsticks are next door. Or my meter sticks. But 1 meter is about the width of the door. Okay, there would be 100 centimeters. So 100 of these little marks would equal 1 meter stick, which is about a little bit over 3 feet. Okay? And then we have in the chart, it tells us, we should not be doodling right now, 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. That makes sense. It's a power of 10, right? If 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters, then 100 centimeters times 10, because in each one of those little itty bitty centimeters, I have 10 millimeters. So I have to multiply 100 times 10. That gives me
1,000.
So if there are 100 centimeters in a meter stick, and I want to figure out how many millimeters there are, I'm going to multiply the number of centimeters I have times 10. Okay, it's a power of 10. The metric system does that. Each one builds off of the other one by a power of 10. Okay, so then it tells me that 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer, however you want to say it. Okay, so you have to know that conversion chart. You have to know that 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. You have to know that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, which equals 1,000 millimeters. Okay? You have to know those conversions. And they give you some pictures across the top of the thing to show you. If we were to try to relate a kilometer to the customary unit of measurement that we use, 1 kilometer or 1 kilometer would be about how far? Similar to a mile. Okay? They would not be the exact, but that would be a similar thing that we could relate it to give you an idea of how far a kilometer would be. Okay? So, let's pop down. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start practice measuring some. Okay? And whenever you are measuring these, yes, I want it to the millimeter. Okay? You've got to pay attention to your ruler. Okay? So, if I'm going to measure something to the nearest millimeter, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line. Here's my starting point, and I'm going to stop right here. Okay? I'm going to measure it to the nearest centimeter, and I'm going to measure it to the nearest millimeter. And they abbreviate that mm, right? Okay? Don't get, this is where it gets a little bit confusing because you have centimeters, millimeters, meters, kilometers. Okay? mm is always millimeters. M is always meters. There's only 1 m in meters. There's 2 m's in millimeters. Okay? So, don't get them confused. So if I were going to measure this, my first step would be to move my ruler. Notice I'm putting my 0 on the line. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of math class, if my ruler would move. Quit moving. Okay, it's not going to move anymore. But, alright, so if I'm going to measure this to the nearest centimeter, okay, obviously I'm between 3 and 4. The cool thing thing about your ruler is it's going to give you that halfway point again. Okay? Just like in rounding, when I'm 5 or bigger, I go to the next one. If I'm 4 or smaller, I stay the same. Okay? So when I look at this, I'm looking at my 3. Okay? Let me box that. Hold on. Okay, so I'm right here. Is the end of my line. Here's my 3. Here would be 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters. Here's my halfway point. Okay? Am I past my halfway point?
Yeah.
So I can automatically say this would be estimated to be 4 centimeters. Okay? Now I have to do millimeters. All I'm doing is I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's right there on 9, so it would be
39.
Ooh. Okay? Hold on. I'm hearing some right answers and I'm hearing some wrong answers, so I want to make sure we are all right. Okay? Yes, I agree with you that from the 3 to my line is 9 millimeters. But what about this? Okay? I have 10 millimeters here. Shh, too much chatter. I have 10 millimeters from 1 to 2. I have 10 millimeters from 2 to 3. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9. 39 millimeters. Pretend like those ends are perfect. Okay, so, moral of the story. Don't forget to count all of your millimeters from 0. Okay? Alright, you ready to try some if I draw some on the board?
Yeah.
We have to come up there and draw on.
I'm going to go ahead and just stop this video, but the biggest thing is make sure that you're counting all of your millimeters all the way till you get to the point. You can take the shortcut by knowing that from 0 to 1 is 10. 1 to 2 is another 10, and you can count it like that versus trying to keep track of all these itty bitty little lines that you're counting. Okay? Alright. You have to know conversions, centimeters to meters to millimeters to kilometers, and you have to be able to estimate to the nearest centimeter and to the nearest millimeter. Okay?